Will learn to think critically about 4 dress-ups that you learned about in a previous lesson: the quality adjective, the strong verb, the ly word, and the because dress-up. And so these sentences that I'm going to show you were all written by students in our class after watching the last video, the assignment they were given with that video. And so we're going to take a look at these and see what was done well and what could be improved upon. And again, I don't want anybody to be hurt or think badly just because your sentence might be used in the video. All the students have things that they did well on, and they all had things that they could improve on. So I just basically picked some random sentences other than the 2 good examples, and we're just going to kind of go through those and take a look at what could be done a little bit better on these dress-ups. This is really hard. Everybody's having a real difficult time with this, so watch this video carefully and see if you can start understanding the best way to do these dress-ups. First of all, let's take a look at a good example, and this is actually, I'm going to tell you that it's the student that wrote these good examples. Their number is number 24 in our class, and they just did an awesome job on their assignment. So big hand for number 24. But here are the 2 sentences from that student's paper. It says, Emma accidentally plunged and fell on her face because there was a substantial crack. I want you to notice a few things. First of all 4 dress-ups are in the sentence. Okay, we have an ly word right here. We have a strong verb. Plunged, that's not just a verb that any 4th or 5th grade student would use. And we have the because dress-up right here, obviously. And then we have a quality adjective right here that describes the crack. I want you to notice that all the words that this student used make sense. They add, they dress up the sentence, they make it sound better than if they just said Emma fell on her face because there was a crack. That would be the sentence basically without any of the dress-ups other than the because. And that sentence is not nearly as good as this sentence here. Having accidentally in there adds to the idea that she didn't fall on purpose. Plunged, even without, I think we could even get rid of this and just have it say that she plunged on her face. And then substantial, obviously, if it's a substantial crack, if it's a crack that's really big, I can picture this in the sidewalk, that's going to make somebody trip, so that makes sense. Oh, and all 4 of the dress-ups are underlined. I wrote these exactly the way they are on the people's papers. So when you see a spelling mistake, when you see something underlined, capitals, periods, that's all exactly the way it was on the papers when they were turned into me. Here's another great example from the same student. Kenyon heard a resounding explosion because he was quietly roaming. Resounding explosion, that's a great adjective that describes this explosion. It makes sense to go with that. Because he was quietly roaming, if he's going to hear an explosion and he's quiet, it makes it a little bit easier for him to hear. These sentences are not perfect. There's definitely things that could be improved upon on them, but much, much better than what most of the kids are doing at this point in time. Roaming is a great strong verb. It's an action that he's doing. Instead of just walking around, he's roaming. I would put the word around probably at the end of this sentence, but like I said, it's not perfect, but this is a great job on this assignment. So, and we have all 4 dress-ups. They're all under. Excellent work. Okay, now we're going to look at some sentences so you can learn about how to think critically and improve your writing. And I'm definitely not going to tell you who these belong to because that doesn't really matter on these. We just want to learn about how to improve. So first of all, the sentence says the teacher is supposed to say quietly, but they wrote quitly, classified the conspicuous tests because report cards were only 2 days away. First of all, some good things about this sentence. All 4 dress-ups are underlined. They do have all 4 dress-ups. They have the ly here. They have a strong verb here. They have a quality adjective here. And they have the because dress-up right there. And so this person's, doing a pretty good job here. got a capital at the beginning, a period at the end, but there's definitely some issues with this sentence, and I want you to pay attention to what they are. Besides the spelling error, quietly, you can see that this becomes a pretty popular dress-up. You want to probably try to stay away from the ly quietly, or carefully, or quickly. Those tend to get used quite frequently. And I'm going to be giving you guys a list of words that you can use for the ly, for the strong verb, for the quality adjective, and really use those lists. Use your thesauruses. Go online to get your words. If the words just come out of your head, chances are you're not doing a good job on the assignment. If you're not looking for the words in some sort of reference material, if you're not asking someone what a great word would be, if it's not coming from someplace outside of you, you're probably going to do a lousy job on it. And so the word quietly, again, not too exciting of an ly word. Now, this student used the word classified right here for classifying tests. Classifying means putting them in groups and getting them organized. That word does not fit what the idea of the sentence was, which was to grade the tests. And they probably used a source outside of themselves to, a thesaurus or something like that. But you don't want to use a word in the thesaurus that you've never used before, that you're not really familiar with, because you're going to end up doing what this student did, which is to use a word that makes absolutely no sense in the sentence. And then conspicuous, another great example of pulling a word, probably did a good job with getting a word outside of their own mind, because conspicuous is not a word that normally a 4th or 5th grader would think of, but it doesn't really make sense with the tests. Conspicuous means it's easy to spot. Now, why would you be saying that these tests are really easy to spot, like, oh, there they are on the shelf over there, I can really see them easily? That just doesn't make sense with the sentence. The rest of the sentence makes really good sense, that if report cards are only 2 days away, they would be grading tests. We don't want to put a comma in this sentence. All right, let's go on to the next page. Here's another example. Emma stubbled on her lovely face because she is very clumsy. First of all, some good things about this. They have 4 dress-ups underlined. We're going to talk about whether these are actually the 4 dress-ups that you're supposed to write, but they do have 4. Clumsy is a pretty good word as a quality adjective. They have the because, so this is a quality adjective. They do have the because. They do have a strong verb. Stumbled is a pretty good strong verb. The word is actually stumbled, not stubbled, and so that's a spelling issue there. And if this student is not real confident, if any of you are not real confident how to spell words, always ask somebody else or look them up. Don't ever guess if you're not 100% sure how you spell a word if you're going to be writing this for school and turning it in to your teacher. Now, we do have an issue here with the ly word. This ly word does not count as a dress-up because this is actually an adjective. This adjective is describing the face. It's not an adverb. And our ly word is supposed to be an adverb. There are, in the song that we sing, the Rock and the Standard song, we sing most ly words are adverbs. There's a lot of ly words that are not. Lovely is one of them. Family is not an adverb. And many others that I can't think of right now. But you got to make sure that your ly word is describing an adjective, that it's describing a verb, or it's describing another adverb. If it's describing a noun, or if it is a noun, then it's not the type of ly word we want to use as our dress-up. This is a pretty good job on that sentence. Okay, here's another one. Canyon noted a gigantic explosion because it was the 4th of July, so everyone was wildly throwing explosions in the air. Now, the good things, we do have the 4 dress-ups underlined. We actually do have a verb here, and I would say that noted is a strong verb. We do have an adjective. I would not say that gigantic is a quality adjective, though. That's one of the issues with this sentence. Gigantic is a word that probably a lot of first graders know and that they would use. So again, you have to go outside of yourself to come up with these words. Good job on the because, and wildly is a ly word, and I can picture people wildly throwing things in the air. Now we do have a couple of other issues with this, and that's that the sentence really doesn't make a lot of sense. When you write things, you have to stop and read them and make sure that it's actually communicating something. And that's where a lot of you guys struggle. Canyon noted a gigantic explosion. Noting means like to take notice of something. That's pretty good. I guess that verb is okay. And it could be a gigantic explosion. Well, why did he note this gigantic explosion? Because it was the 4th of July. That doesn't really make sense, that the reason he noted it was because it was the 4th of July. Maybe there were explosions because it was the 4th of July, but the fact that he noted it because it was the 4th of July doesn't really explain. That's not a very good because. And then the other problem is they go on to tell us even more. I think it's a good idea just to stop your sentences after the because. Don't add more information after your because clause. And then it says, so everyone was wildly throwing explosions. Okay, so can you notice this explosion? So everyone was wildly throwing. Now, first of all, how do you throw explosions in the air? I'm not exactly sure what that means, to throw an explosion in the air. And then the other thing is, why would we say that everybody was doing that because Canyon noted the explosion? Again, just doesn't really make a lot of sense. So, write a real simple sentence first, and then start adding in your dress-ups. You can kind of get yourself stuck and in trouble when you just start throwing a bunch of ideas out there on your paper.